meeting to open meeting to Wisconsin pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome to budget meeting number 2 of 2022. And first up, I believe we have Highway Department. Oh, you did? I don't care who's first.
Yeah, it don't
It
matter.
doesn't really matter.
If you want to go for,
He called me first,
I was gonna say, I can flip a coin, you can hold it in the air.
Rock, paper, scissors?
You can go down and have a beer at the bar for a while.
Of course, I posted everything in landscape mode, which is kind of silly, because that's a pain in the butt to use the, how's everybody doing today, okay? Good. Is everybody kind of looking at it to kind of look over my budget, or my notes, or anything like that? Any questions? Okay. So each one of the lines, like 5132, 5130, 5110, so on and so forth. I made specific notes because there's some lines that have had an increase during COVID, obviously. Like my fuel have increased by approximately 35%. I'm kind of hoping the fuel prices are going to come down. It's basically if you look at the numbers, I kind of spent this year what projected for the rest of my year is going to be. We're trying to factor into next year's budget. Some of the things I did increase because I don't have to use some of the ones for stock at the end of the season. So I'm just kind of left those the same. I should be okay. Let's see. I'm just going through my notes here. Looking for the. I have to grab the other notes off my desk and make it done, and I didn't. So I apologize for my snow removal. Monthly transfer, equipment transfer fund. I have for several years we've done $75,000. That's for the purchase of new highway equipment. I've asked the board to increase that line, hopefully, to $100,000 this year. Obviously, everything is more expensive across the board. I also get the tax factor and all that stuff, so I tried to take that into account when I was trying to figure out my numbers. Let's see, what was the other numbers there? I also asked the town to fund my permanent improvement line again, which hasn't been funded. I think this is now year 12 or 13. And they used to put, it started at $300,000 years ago, then went to $150,000, and then it went to zero. The permanent improvement line was for paving of the roads. It's very hard with the CHIPS funds. All I get from them is $200,000 and change. And it's hard to pave. Most of the prices better than yesterday's prices with $200,000. So I have $7,000 and $200,000 will pave $3,000 if we're lucky. So you kind of do the math when the average road lasts between 15 and 20 years. It's hard to keep up. The process of the amazing job that the landlord has done at the time. Unfortunately, the prices have just gone up so much that it's hard to even band-aid stuff anymore. The stuff right now is just to the point where we're going to replace it and we're going to run into a problem. So, so any questions so far?
Yeah, John, just real, I'm sorry, go ahead. You first.
Just while you're on the blacktop,
Yeah.
which, I just can't find that on, which fund is that?
Okay, so if you go to, yeah. It's on machinery.
okay.
And then the next page is,
This organized with the other way you kind of, there we go. So the general they're on the same page.
I got you, okay.
Did everybody find it, or?
It's on the second page of the machinery budget,
Yeah.
third page.
So our machinery is so light, you can barely see, it's right.
Yeah, the machine's
Yeah,
so it's like 3 times before I realized where it is myself.
I got you, thank you.
And so what's the price right now for blacktop and, like, I mean, I just said 200,000, what CHIPS gives you, and
So the blacktop, the rate is around $17 a ton.
So just, I want to help better put this into a number or quantify it in a way that a taxpayer can understand, right? So with the $200,000 that the state gives you, how much road could you pave with that?
Depends.
I was dealing with what page.
Blacktop, it's not a full rubber.
Yeah.
Depending on the road, I can pave more, I can pave less, it depends on how bad the road is.
Right.
Some roads need to be what we call shimmed. I don't know if you've seen the guy, they put those long patches down the side of the road, like, oh my God, this looks horrible.
On North Avenue.
And then they pave it.
Yep.
That's why, so sometimes, so this year, last year.
Okay.
So it's going to be kind of, so I was able to pave all the drive, the whole loop, the whole circle, everything.
Right, by the way.
Thank you. I'll pass that on to my guys and gals. They also included, when we pave, they also have to remember, we have to put risers on the basins. There's these metal things that bring the grates up, so we have to replace the whole thing, so that's included in the price as well. But we'll do Dairy Drive, we'll do Woodward Road for Marshall, and just down past where the pond is, which is not quite a mile. We're also able to do Bristol and Talbot. So we're able to get quite a bit done this year, even at the prices, but we had, was it about 70,000, I think, left over from last year, give or take?
Plus we had the BOP.
Plus they gave us extra power money this year, so we had a lot extra money to play with, so I kind of, the prices that I kind of a little crazy with blacktop.
Well, okay, thank you.
It's around 2 miles away. If you're 100,000 per mile, give or take, right now with the index the way it is.
So are you asking, I might have interrupted before, did you say you had $100,000?
So I put 300,000 on the permanent improvement line, because that's what was originally there like 15 years ago. You know, again, if you put 50,000 there, it would be a help. I mean, so if I'm going to ask for it all, and if you give it to me, if you don't, I'll use what you give me, basically. You know,
If you don't ask, you don't get it.
and that's kind of my thing, you know, jump on, and then we can whittle it down from there if we need to. And I try to make my lowest increases in my budget on the things that were going to be impacted the most, you know, truck parts, truck repairs, equipment purchases, you know, the fuel, the cost of fuel. You know, we're going to be tight this year. I think we're going to be okay. We're going to make sure we're not going to wood. But I think we're going to be okay this year. Yeah.
we talked about that earlier. After big droughts like this, it's usually followed by cold.
According to the farmer's almanac, my mom got master, she had a huge garden in her yard, lived and died by the old farmer's almanac, and swore that the almanac was more accurate than any other person on the planet. And they're calling for what they call a shovel winter. Which is going bad. Snow, for us, snow's better than ice, because snow we can push and we're done. Ice doesn't cost us a ton of money. I'd rather 10 feet of snow than a half-inch ice.
I agree.
Yeah. And it's, you know, with our roads and stuff like that, luckily we only have 2 left so far. It tears the dirt roads up, and you just can't, and it costs us a fortune to repair those roads after a winter like we just had.
John, did you start out with 5110, or did you not do that? Okay, so I have a question on 5110.
Okay.
You are going, you already have the CHIPS thing. Okay, and then you have 446, blacktop and blacktop contractor. It was 30, you went up to 50.
For some reason, last year, they wanted to combine, let me get to the 5110 here. I had this all organized, I was gonna look like the smart guy on the run for once, and I messed that right the heck up. All right, here we go. So blacktop contractor and materials and other, so last year, they combined those two lines. The 446 and 447 materials and other. Those been separated, just because it was just easier for accounting purposes to know, what I was using for potholes and what I was using for other roadside repairs, which could be, like when we pave the road, usually the following week, we go back and we do what we call ozone roads, so we make all the lines nice and, pave the side of the blacktop, and so I take different things and it helps me keep accounting of what I'm doing on each road so I can break it down. If somebody comes to me next month and goes, hey, how much did Bristol cost? I go, oh, the blacktop was this, the dirt was this, the seed was that. So that's why it's broken down that way. That's why I put it back that way, because it's easier for me accounting the way I'm doing it.
So this is mainly after blacktop is done? You go
Yes.
back and you do whatever you want to do?
Our main source of our pothole money too comes from that blacktop and other blacktop contractor.
Okay. And then the other thing on this page, what's the, I can't write and talk at the same time. Okay. The other thing on here is under your miscellaneous,
Yep.
you're going up quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
But you have that Cintas thing there, which of course,
Which we've cut down significantly.
yeah.
We pretty much have the basics in the Synthos cabinet that we really need to have as a necessity at the highway garage. And I did take Councilman Reifenberg's lead on the lens wipes and actually found identical lens wipe we're getting now, but about $15 a box cheaper. And that was funded through Redline, who's one of our suppliers that we use, so we already have the account, so it's actually, so thank you for that, by the way.
Can I ask a question about, still under 5110, just so we're all aware? 477,
470. Yes.
street sweeping and catch basins. So is that all street sweeping, or is that street sweep, that's for cleaning the catch basins, right, not replacing them, right?
So the two seasons where we're street sweeping that we went from custom street sweeping, we have our fall or spring season. So basically in the fall, we go around and we suck all the basins out and get all the crap from the previous winter and from the summer, and so the basins flow fall and winter, and then in the spring, we ask them to go by and we see them street sweeping and pick all the sand up that we've left on the roads from the winter. So that's just
Can I ask the question of what would it cost to own one of those pieces?
so here's the thing. Not as much as you think.
Well, that's what I get, that's what I'm saying. It's a large number.
I do look into it.
I've talked to some people, so I figure if you see here underneath my street sweeping, we're now $50,000. Now, the average that we spent, because we season when we blacktop a road, when we do like our road base to come on the road, we call him, he sweeps it up, it's all nice and nice to blacktop sticks. So it's average between probably 55 and 60,000 depending on what happens, on street sweeping. That includes if we're going to do the parking lot back here or someone needs something done, just down the town. So we can budget for a brand new street sweeper. Okay. Over the course of 5 or 6 years, will cost us about between $50,000 and $60,000 a year. And we have a brand new street sweeper, and with a 60-foot stainless steel, all the bells and whistles.
Right, and then after 6 years, we don't.
It costs us $50 to maintain.
Is that a sucker too?
So here's
It's a street sweeper, a sucker, and what they call a jet water, so it has the high pressure thing for blowing out the basins. The lowest price on it is around $330 for like basically the top out. But if you're in 5 years, 6 years, it's paid off. You have the machine there for 15 years.
So can you do, with permission, I would say, can you, for the next time that we sit around and talk about what numbers to approve and whatnot, can you get us a total annual price, like to a penny? That way we can either say we're gonna put $50,000 towards renting the gentleman, or we could do it toward the bond anticipation notice.
Putting that together, so.
Cool, thanks, John.
Okay, now, as a mechanic here, I'm curious, because, okay, this comes with a warranty, but how many parts on that sweeper are not covered under the blanket warranty? Because it's my understanding that these things need a pile of parts replaced with regularity.
Using the brushes and what they call the curtains, so it's something that is in constant contact with the surface, the hard surface. Approximately $3,000 to replace your brushes and curtains on a new machine. The rest of the maintenance is bumper for maybe 5 or 6 years. I've talked about a couple different things. When I say bumper, I really mean just about from the headlights to the taillights. Everything else is covered if anything goes wrong with the machine in that first. And you can buy, if you choose to, you can buy extended warranty plans, which should also cover the machine for even longer. I believe they go up to like 8 years, which covers everything, again, with the exception of headlights and oil changes, you know, and your bills, which are your brushes and your skirts. And still, even if you had to replace an engine in the vehicle in 10 years, it's still not going to cost you $50,000. I mean, that's not going to show that at the end of 15 years, you're going to save $150,000 as opposed to $50,000 a year, which is going to keep probably going up with gas prices and it's, you know, not the guy who does a good job for us. It's just, I think it's going to be economical for us to own. Another key back to that is, if I'm looking for a week, and it rains, because you really can't street sweep if it's pouring rain, so he'll pick up his water and mud, and it really doesn't do a good job. Now I gotta pull it off, but now he's booked with the town of Dover that week, so now I have to wait until the rain goes whatever. We've had 2 years now where we haven't really finished everything we're supposed to, whereas if we had a machine, and it had a day where we didn't have a whole bunch of stuff going on, I could say, hey, you two, go do Birch Drive, go do Market Kendall, go do, and we could do it throughout the course of the year. We wouldn't have to be locked into 1 or 2 weeks in a year and have to, you know, because you have to take one guy and dedicate him for a time of almost a month every year and dedicate him just to the sweeper to make sure it gets done. So that's the other side of that coin of having our own machine.
Well, I will say, if it can be cost effective, I'm the first guy as an old diesel mechanic to say, if you can keep it in-house and if you can maintain it, it's always going to cost less.
And that's one thing that I steadfast on from my predecessor is we keep it clean, we keep it up to date, we keep it maintained, and we will get the maximum life out of our vehicles. That's why, you know, this vehicle still starts at the turn of a key.
While we're on 5110,
Mm-hmm.
I was just looking at a couple of things.
Mm-hmm.
The line 473, the gas and oil. I see it was 35 last year. You're asking for 50 for 2023.
Mm-hmm.
But I just want to make sure you know that your adjusted budget, it looks like it's been adjusted to 70,000. You've already used about just under 50,000 already.
I have 2 fuel lines, I have a winter fuel line, I have a summer fuel line. So if you look under the winter, there's also another fuel line there, which also went from 35 to 50,000.
It's confusing.
And it's kind of happened to us this year, around the corner, she goes, you know, you're getting kind of close to that fuel line, we're still looking like, we have the other fuel line, so we're good. And we are still good at this point. I think we're going to be close this year, but, you know, that's why I brought both of those lines up to 50,000.
And then the, what is that, 489 rental equipment grass cutting?
Yep.
What,
So I have 2 equipment rental lines. I had 3, but I have 2 now. That's the gentleman, have you seen the boom truck mower go around town, which is over Domino's? That's what we use those 2 lines for. That's that equipment rental for him and his piece of equipment that we use specifically for that.
all right, so you've been paid out of a different,
It's paid out of the 100 line,
Yeah.
and he's actually an employee.
got you.
The tractor guy. So that's different. My tractor, which is just what they call a fair, which is a guy who rides around, throughout the year. And then we actually rent another gentleman, Sean, who has a boom truck mower, has a big arm on it, so he can reach out and over like 15 feet and get the brush back over the guardrails and where we can't reach with our mower. And that's that rental section that between that one and then we also have another winter rental section that we take that money out of.
I was just asking, because it doesn't look like you used any money out of that line, so I was just.
Yeah, it's coming.
One other question, John.
Yes, ma'am.
The 479, you're putting it up to 10,000 from 6, but you haven't used any of the 6 this year.
If you look at the updated, yeah.
These figures were from July.
That is almost at zero now. Because we just got down, we did a bunch up in, Bristol, we did some up in David Drive, so,
Okay.
Because we were trying to get a jump on the budget.
Yeah.
You're right, because my understanding is-
And that's for like those rental mowers that you're cutting it back on the side of the road with.
yeah, it's way back with the big arm, it's got like the triple knuckle arm, and he can go right over. That car truck he uses is kind of neat. It's got the dual steering wheel on each side, so you can bounce around like the mailman used to.
Just on the snow removal part, I'm just gonna ask, it's probably a stupid question, but.
Mr. Burns.
So salt and sand, obviously there's still some left in this year's budget for salt, because there's this year as well. Sand, I'm just, when it doesn't look like you used any of that, do we?
I think I have about 22,000 left in sand, off the top of my noggin. And again, this isn't really showing that I've used anything. So I have about 30,000 left, and sand I have somewhere around 20 or 22,000, I believe.
That's tons?
That dollar.
Stockpiled for the coming season.
Okay.
If we get it, we have approximately 2,500 tons of salt, and then about 1,500 tons of dry sand, and probably another 1,500 tons of, so that sand is just, it sits outside before it goes in the shed, so, and pretty soon we're gonna start hauling more sand, because when I start this season off with probably around 3,000 to 4,000 tons of sand.
But if November and December are rough,
Right. Well, that's why I like to keep it all there. Eastern Salt, most of the sand suppliers we work with, they're like, look, we don't have any budget yet, so if you want to order it now, we'll send you a bill in January. So they work with us, but, again, I kind of took that from my predecessor. He kept a little nest egg, God forbid, we got beat up in early December, or had a November winter, which we've had in the past, even in October, if our bad numbers, 1987.
October 4th, 1987, we got a foot of snow out there.
Yes, we did. So that's why we keep those the way they are.
And then April 30th, 1997, 2 feet.
That's right, we did get 2 feet in April. So,
Or April 1st, it was an April Fool's Day storm.
yeah, it was no joke. Any other questions I can? No? Right? If you have any questions, I'm sorry, I'm work, so just let me down and throw them at me, I'm good.
God, if I'd have known he was gonna wear shorts, I would have worn shorts.
Supposed to be me living here. Sorry, I need glasses. Okay. So I assume you've looked through my budget a little bit? Okay. I'm sure you noticed, I'm asking for our hours to be increased for my staff. And that way we can accomplish all of our duties in a timely manner. Right now, we're just getting done building permits, CO searches, and COs. We get some of the other stuff done a little bit, just enough so we don't get yelled at anymore. And so that it takes care of the problem for the immediate case, but not in the long run. So our building permits and our searches actually are at like 3 weeks now, and they should be at 1 week. And if I had extra staff, I could do that. Complaints and violations suffer because I don't get out of the office. And if the building inspector can't get out either, then the violations are not, and that's what people see. You know, they call me and they want the grass growth cut. They want to see that done. They don't want to see me saying, I couldn't get out of the office. Not much to say. Can I read this? Can I read this?
I'm sorry?
Can I read what I wrote?
Oh, yeah, go right ahead. Yeah, definitely.
Okay, thank you. It'll be easier for me.
That's why you're here.
My staff comes to work every day with a new smile and renewed energy. Every day someone is rude, impatient, angry with my department. Staff continues to show up, though only they make $18 an hour. And in this toxic work environment, we are bashed on social media, have to work on multiple tasks at one time, and get interrogated by phones and our customers at a regular basis. We need more hours to process building permits and searches. They need to go out in a week. And we would be able to get other tasks done if we had more time for staff. I haven't been able to get to our code. Our code's a mess. It needs to be fixed. I don't get to those parts. You need new code. You don't need code for Airbnbs. We already got two complaints. One's on Applegate. We don't have a code to stop that. And I don't have time to work on one. And there's conflicting text and old text in our code book that should come out. That's about it. My staff is hardworking, reliable, knowledgeable, efficient, and self-starting. Increased hours will allow for increased job satisfaction and increased customer satisfaction. Increased hours will enable us to grow as a department and accomplish our goals for improvement. That's what I had to say. Any questions?
Do you think that, first of all, bringing the building inspector from part-time to full-time would mitigate a lot of this?
I think it would help his job a lot. I don't, especially when he gets into the fire inspector part as well. It just seems impossible. And every day he's like, I can't believe I don't have any hours left. Can't believe I don't have any hours left. I have to do this and I have to do this. And he's very frustrated about the hours.
Just to make sure I'm reading this right, for, I guess, what is this? Under zoning 8010, line 100. The zoning administrator is obviously you.
That's me.
I see it's corrected. I just want to make sure that you're proposing 40 and a half hours. Is that what it is a week? Or, because then I see to the left 35 hours. Or is that that's the hourly rate, okay.
Right.
Right, okay.
Yes.
Gotcha. And
And the rest I asked for a 5% increase for salaries, besides extra hours.
Okay, well, if we were to bring Chris Ann from 25 to 35 hours a week, as I'm seeing here, very first question right off the bat is, does that change her position to competitive?
I'm not the one to answer that question.
yeah, I mean, that's,
It does.
yeah, that's one of my
That
concerns too,
changes it.
is if it is competitive, are your staff in a position to where if it
Because
is competitive, then we have to start pulling from it's not competitive?
It's not, Chris Ann and Courtney are both exempt employees, such as myself.
no matter what their hours are?
It's their time.
Okay, That was my question.
Yeah, just like the bookkeeper is exempt, the town clerks, deputy clerks, they're each exempt. Chrisanne and Courtney are exempt, that's why we could go from 20 to 25. So right now, they're at 25 hours a week.
But if they went full-time, it doesn't change that.
No.
Okay, yeah, that was my, right off the bat, before you go any further, that would be my first question, because if it was
It
competitive,
goes by title.
yeah.
Like, we just recently, Johnny and I found out on the active list for the positions, like they had the bookkeeper listed as a part-time position, but it's still exempt. But we all know I work a little bit more than 40 hours.
More like 50, 55, yeah.
Is there, just because I'm sure I'm gonna have a lot of questions, is there any way that you'd be able to talk into the microphone just so?
Yeah, can you just, you might as well just sit next to Mary. Yeah, just sit next to Mary.
Yeah, if you want to, just because I'm sure people.
Yeah, just so constituents won't hound us.
On top of the civil service part of that, so when we transition employees from part-time to full-time, obviously there's some sort of benefit package that comes along with that, right?
Yes.
Do you have just an average so we can understand approximately per person how much more on top of the salary increase would be? Because that's not shown in any of these numbers.
No, they're
No.
not.
So, but we
Right
need
now,
to,
the
we need to
budgets
think
are
about.
all based on what they're looking for hours and salary, as
Yeah.
far as I can tell.
Good point, because just health insurance alone, once she becomes full-time,
On 4 people.
she'd be eligible for, insurance and/or buyout, so
So do
just
you-
that right there.
I don't have the numbers off the top of my head. I can get them for you if you'd like.
Are we talking like $1,000? Are we talking, I just honestly don't know, so.
Well, you're talking, I'm guessing on health insurance
Hey,
alone,
hey,
over
hold on,
10
hold on,
grand a
hold on,
year.
hold on. Once-
but-
hold on.
So,
He asked the question, let
Yeah.
well,
Melanie answer it. If you can't answer it now, we'll just get back next time.
Right, I would say for a single, it's approximately $10,000 a year to $11,000 a year.
So that's for a single.
so just to give you an idea of the range, because this is what I
Yeah.
do for my day job, it can go anywhere from, I would say, 10 to 12, all the way up to 20 to 25,000, depending on dependents and,
Family, yeah. But along, well, I was signing the vouchers and looking at them today, and I was like, yep, single is like 10 grand a year. I was looking at it, so,
But Frank brings up a very good point, Frank Mazzella. It would be approximately $10,000 for the premium, and then the town does a high deductible, so that would be another $2,400.
Oh,
So
the
yeah, we're back
deductible
up to about
reimbursement?
12,000.
yeah.
so, just as a, put a
Yeah, so you're not talking just the salary, you're talking many other things here.
So I just want to ask the question of, at what point, I know we're getting a lot of information, we got some on Monday for the budget portion, and we're getting a lot tonight from both John and from you, and thank you, Sarah. But at what point do we, the board, kind of hash out what we think is the right number? Because, I mean, as this sits, just so we're all on the same page, this is a 39% budget increase across this department. So, like, at what point do we get to, like, start striking the pen, is my question.
First, we
That's what I just want to know the process, is all I'm really asking.
First, we listen to each department.
Mhm.
Okay?
Yep.
And then I believe the next part is I hash out what I think is a basic,
Supervisor budget.
full-pack budget, so.
Okay.
If, in other words, we can't agree on everything,
Mhm.
that's like a fail-safe budget.
Gotcha, okay.
And then we sit and we start hashing out some of these
Right.
numbers. So you may say 10, I may say 15, we settle on 12.
Yep, I gotcha.
whatever it may be.
So,
So right now, this is really listening to each department and what their needs are.
That's what I was just trying to clarify, because I'm just,
And I will say that, this department was way behind for a long time, and, we do need to look at this hard and kind of figure out what we need to do to get it where it needs to be.
I think so.
so if, I'll ask the hard question, because I know we're all gonna get asked this after this meeting. So, just on salaries alone, payroll for, 2022 payroll was, let's just keep it easy, 125,000. for all of these offices, and then you're proposing 212, which is a 69.5% increase, and that's without the health benefits that the taxpayers are going to pay as well. So just because I know it's going to be out there, they're going to want to know, and I want to know is what increase, what can the office provide that they're not providing now to the residents of Pleasant Valley for that significant increase?
Violations, taking people to court, fines. You'd have a lot much more time, like I said, to improve your code, which is lacking in a lot of places where people want enforcement, as you've seen, and there is none. And then there's old sections of code that we don't even use anymore that need to be taken out that cause conflicts with other sections of code. It makes it difficult for developers and engineers and architects to read our code because it's not consistent. It's wrong in some places, or it's not, it calls for a practice that's not done anymore. It's not done that way. So really, it should be either corrected or taken out. It has to correspond. And you have definitions as well that don't match what you're supposed to do. I think what the public would see the most is the violations. And also, I don't want to just be doing violations. I want to drive around town and I want to say, today I'm going to do signs. And I'm going to have time to look at all the signs. Or I'm going to be able to go around town and take pictures of all the signs. And next year, I'll be able to know what changed. And those are like the investigative things you need a base of. And the same with you, we're speaking about the billboards. I don't have a billboard document. I don't have any idea how many there are or where they are. And I don't find any record in my department for one. So those are things that are worked on in the long term that I'm not getting to, or we're not getting to.
So,
And the same, the same with the building inspector. He drives around and he's either like this, or he's got to do his job, and he looks at everything. So when he looks at everything, he starts, picking up a couple violations, like, when did that house get there? I mean, it gets to be a big deal.
And knowing John, I imagine he's probably doing some of it on his own time at this point.
Yes, he is.
A lot of it on his own.
He is. And all of my people have excellent work ethic, and they all give 110%. They get mad when they have to go home. I'm like, you guys are over your hours. They're like, can't I just, I'm like, no.
There are things that we are suffering from not having the people in the field that we need in the field. There's no question about it. I'll give you an example. North Road, while it's not our road, during the wintertime, how many times did we have to go out and put notices on people's doors to shovel their walk? Okay, and it's the responsibility of the people to take care of that. We had to do that last year, and it was after we had how many complaints that we
How
had to
many
do it.
complaints? So it would be nice if I could send letters beforehand to everybody with sidewalks and remind them, and then follow up. And we had talked about getting the door hangers, which was a great idea, but I haven't had time to get that together.
Right,
So-
There's many different visual things that the town would improve on. Look at North Road again, and look at all the sidewalks for that matter.
Right.
That aren't taken care of, and weeds are just coming up. It looks like, if you come through here at a certain time when the traffic finally subsides, it looks like it's a ghost town, because no one's taking care of their,
Nobody's.
in front of their thing. and
To be honest, a lot of the businesses, and I'm sorry to say the churches, do not do it either. And I'd feel much happier if I gave them a letter beforehand and said, the season's coming up. Don't forget to make arrangements for somebody to do your sidewalk, this and that. Then I don't have to find them. And invariably, I'd like to set up some sort of program where little old ladies don't have to go out and shovel, where I have some kid I can call and say, this old lady, she can't shovel it today. She'll give you $20. Can you go out there and do that? That'd be great. But again, those are things that aren't getting done.
Sarah, the majority of the things that I wrote down that you are talking about are really under the zoning, your thing. So
Well,
if you
the
feel
thing is, when I-
you need to be full-time.
When I do that, I need the support staff to do all the paperwork. You know what I mean? I don't type all that. All my violations and stuff, I make a stack and I give them to the secretary. And she makes a stack and then she handles how they get posted and go out. It's a team thing.
yeah, so going off of that, you are full-time, and obviously your secretary, you're saying
about
will be
me.
full-time. are you saying that because of, I'm just making sure I understand this correctly, that, I mean, where's the building? Oh,
It's public safety.
so like, for example, our building inspector, he's not full-time right now, he's going full-time, but like the secretary of planning, I guess I'm trying to figure out, like, okay, what you just said makes sense, that, okay, if you're out there doing a whole bunch of stuff, obviously there's gonna be more work for your secretary within the office to do, to execute that stuff. But can you explain to us, the secretary of planning, why you feel that position needs to be full-time?
They're both secretaries within my office, and they all do this,
So
we
they
all,
both- So they both do the same job?
pretty much. I mean, we share duties as they come along, and if there's a shortage here, we cover there. But both of the secretaries do my work, and they do,
So you think there's gonna be an increase so much that you'll need 2 full-time secretaries?
I would like to see my department have 2 full-time secretaries to handle the work that me and a building inspector can create.
In her defense, I think once the building inspector, if we can bring him to full-time, a lot of other things are gonna be
Yeah.
falling in faster.
Right, and
And
that-
somebody's gonna have to pick up that slack. And
Let's just put the numbers to it. So in 2020, before we changed any fees, okay, these are still part-time employees, it was 19.4.
Wait, where are you looking, sorry?
Zoning fees,
Yeah.
revenue payroll. In 2021, after the fees had gone up, still part-time, that's more than triple. And so if you just do numbers and you say that they go all full-time, you can triple that again. That's a significant increase.
I mean,
I don't think you could triple that, but,
Double it?
well, so, but
more
here's.
hours does mean more
Well,
done.
so let me, this begs the question of last year in revenue fees, right up top. So in 2021, right, we brought in $33,091.57 in fees. This year, $6,900. So there's a lot less going on in town.
well, that's the planning, yeah.
Yeah,
That's his
so,
plan.
Just so.
but what I'm getting at is.
That's
so,
in
but-
planning.
And that's year to date. We're not done yet.
I mean,
That's 4 months left.
I do, like, it's, from my perspective, it might be wrong, is I don't feel like, I'm not looking at this as, like, for planning, for example, I mean, I'm watching the planning board meetings and stuff, and I was on the planning board, and the planning board is not all of a sudden doing a ton of stuff all of a sudden. So for me, I'm looking at it more of a Sarah perspective of zoning, like, I get what she's saying, that, okay, if she's out there writing a bunch more stuff, and she's more active in the field, obviously back here in the office, there's gonna be more stuff going on, and yeah, there'll be a little bit more fees that she's taking in because she's out there writing fines and whatnot. What I'm having trouble with mentally getting by here is that I can kind of wrap my mind around giving her a full-time secretary because to support that. But I don't know, do we need a full-time secretary to the planning department when, if we have somebody in there full-time already, that we don't right now? And if you look at the revenue, I mean, I'm not even gonna consider the revenue because we don't,
It's not complete.
it's not complete, there's been so many changes, it's difficult to even base what's actually gonna happen. I mean, we're 8 months into the year right now, well, this is July, so 7 months, and we're less than half of where we were at the end of 2021 with all 3 of them. And I'm not saying that's anybody's fault, because it's just they're overworked and maybe they can't get out there and do all that stuff, so. I'm just saying is that I get that the revenue's up, but at the same time, I'll give you an example, like the courts, right? The courts, they're bringing in probably the most money besides the tax collector in Pleasant Valley, and we don't all of a sudden give them a whole bunch of full-time employees. And I'm not saying I'm against
Because
giving
the
them
court
full-time
pays for
employees, but the
them.
revenue part of it,
Right.
I'm not taking into account. It's, give
But
me
they
a,
have full-time employees.
Yep.
they,
Both court
They have
No, no,
officers.
what he's saying is we're not, just because they bring in so much of a revenue, we're not gonna keep adding more.
You're not gonna convince me that we should convert 4 part-time employees to 4 full-time employees because their revenue's up. I honestly don't care about the revenue. It's if the work is there and we can justify the work and it's going to make it better for the residents, that's what I care about. I don't really care about because if that was the argument, then we would give our judges.
Well,
No, that's not the same
okay,
thing.
well, Mike, one thing right off the bat is, you know, okay, just the building inspector alone, not making him full-time, people are waiting a whole lot
Yeah.
longer
They are.
just for inspections,
inspection.
for being signed
I'm not
off,
saying-
and
And you're talking about services that you're holding up of closings, COs, people
yeah.
moving in, you're holding up families. I mean,
They're losing-
there are
they're losing their
services that the town
commitments.
has to provide to people coming in and out of this town building
it's gotta be
and whatnot.
I-
It has to be in a timely
I
manner.
think you guys missed my point. I'm not saying I'm not sitting here saying that I'm against giving full-time employees. I'm saying I don't really care about the revenue.
Oh, that's fine,
The
I'm looking at it
capital-
as something as you can gauge the increase by having more time.
it's still something that, guess what, we owe it to our constituents who are paying the taxes.
And quite frankly, this argument is supposed to be between us. We're really supposed to just listen and ask if Sarah can actually
think
provide
we've
more
done-
information for us to justify some of the things she's asking for.
You're right, Bob.
So technically, this argument should be later for when we make our decisions. These are the good arguments to have.
I
I'll
think,
ask them, so basically, is the planning secretary supporting you and the building inspector?
yes,
Okay, and then
and vice versa.
are they planning, if they're full-time, are you planning on having them do since it's the secretary to zoning and planning, are they gonna also do and I'm only asking because we have somebody that we've just put in the position to do this, and it could change how we have to think.
Yep.
Is it the assumption that they're gonna cover the meetings for the planning and zoning board?
I have not made that assumption.
So
I didn't dis-
As of right now, they're not.
I didn't address it because it's all set. I didn't realize it was still an issue.
I was wondering because it could
No,
change.
it makes,
and
yeah, it
it
makes a
makes
Right,
difference.
right. I didn't realize it was an issue anymore, and I haven't addressed it.
So that's something we need to address.
Yes.
And bring back to the board, and put that into the equation, which would certainly be something that we've all thought about as well.
Just to have an idea of what the expectations are from you,
Mhm.
because it's going to play another part of
Right.
the budget.
I mean, you do realize that when the secretary to planning, that's not all she does. Right? I mean, and the secretary to zoning, and that's not all they do, because if that's all they did, they wouldn't have that much work.
Well, I've learned that now, but I was under the assumption that they just did their.
No, they do not. They multitask, they do everything. If we're down here, they pick it up, and if we're down there, they pick it up. They do CO searches. I let them do CO searches by themselves. They're great at it. We get them out. They finish up a lot of building permits and COs. Just because we've said verbally do this, and they go and do the whole thing, and all we have to do is sign it. I mean, it makes it very easy. And I would love to invite you, and I thought about it, but maybe not. If you guys want to sit for an hour in my department, please feel free.
I have,
You sat there all day, you didn't tell me who you were. That was kind of creepy.
Okay, any financial questions to Sarah and our department? Any more questions?
I appreciate it.
No,
I appreciate your time.
Thank you very much, Sarah.
At that, I make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
I left, I didn't get a final from.
Oh, yeah, I don't think we got a final to do it, unfortunately. I don't.
Thank you, Sarah. Second, we got a motion to adjourn, second.